This video is going to be all about the Spanish verb tener. Tener is a very useful verb that means to have. It has lots of different uses, and we'll explore some of the more simple uses right now. So first off, tener has 6 forms, like all verbs in the indicative mood of the present tense in Spanish. They are tengo, I have; tienes, you have; tiene, he has or she has. Or could also be the formal way of saying you have. Remember, there are 2 ways of saying you. We've got tú and we have usted. Tú is familiar, so tú tienes is a familiar way you'd say you have, and then usted tiene is the formal way. Tenemos, which means we have. Tenéis, which is a plural way of saying you have. Now in English we have the word you, which could mean singular you or could mean plural you, but in Spanish they have a very distinct separation between vosotros and the other one, which is tienen, which is they have, or the formal way of saying you plural have. So I oftentimes like to attribute this meaning with the word y'all, a sort of colloquialism, or you guys, that you use in certain parts of the country. So tenéis is like saying y'all have, and then ustedes tienen is like saying you guys have, sort of more formal way of saying the two similar concepts. So again, notice the word tenéis is also only used in Spain, and so if you were in Latin America or the islands of the Caribbean, you would never hear the phrase tenéis or vosotros tenéis. Now, when we talk about the verb tener, we've been talking about body parts in class, we always have to remember how we describe our noun-adjective pairs. This phrase, I have blue eyes, remember we have to reverse the order of the adjective and the noun. The adjective always comes last, so instead of saying blue eyes, you're essentially saying I have eyes blue. So, tengo ojos azules. I have blue eyes would be I have eyes blue. Ojos comes first. You have long hair, same thing. We would say tienes pelo largo. But this phrase right here, he has 9 fingers, we would still keep it in the same order. We would say tiene 9 dedos. Notice that numbers, when being used as a descriptor, come first rather than afterwards. For the most part, if you see an adjective, it would usually come after the noun. This is not always. There are certain exceptions, which we might have a different video talking about that, when that happens and when it doesn't happen. But for the most part, when you hear a verb in Spanish, when you hear a noun-adjective pair in Spanish, the adjective comes last, so the noun comes first. So, speaking of adjectives and nouns, Spanish also separates their nouns off in different categories. Every noun is assigned a gender, either masculine or feminine. And they're also assigned a number, either singular or plural. Now, of course, we have plural nouns in English, but we don't have masculine nouns or feminine nouns describing, say, for instance, parts of the body or inanimate objects around the room. But in Spanish, it's definitely true. So we have to make sure that when we describe things, we choose whether or not it's going to be masculine or feminine, singular or plural. So this right here, the word corto is a masculine noun. The word short ends with an O, so that means it's masculine. It's also singular. Corta, which is singular and feminine. Cortos, which is masculine and plural. And then cortas, which is feminine and plural. Now notice this is for one of these adjectives that when we see it in our vocabulary list, it ends with an O. If we have a word like, for instance, azul, we only have 2 different forms of it. It's only singular or plural. There is no distinction between the feminine or masculine. The same thing works with words that end with E, like fuerte or café, things like that. So when we describe things, for instance, tengo pelo corto, I have short hair, we may make sure that the word corto matches the word pelo, they have the same ending. If we say tengo dedos cortos, notice that dedos is plural, saying you have short fingers, so the word cortos has to be plural. We add an S at the end of each word to ensure that they're both plural. This phrase, tengo piernas cortas, I've got short legs, the word piernas is both feminine and plural, so the word cortas has to be feminine and plural, ending with an AS. And then tengo una nariz corta, which would mean I have a short nose, as opposed to, say, a long nose. The word nariz is feminine, and you're going to have to memorize that, even though it doesn't end with an A. We have the word una in front of it, or the word la in front of it, which indicates that it's feminine, so the word corta has to be feminine as well. So this phrase, tengo pelo azul, tengo ojos azules, notice again the word azul changes for plural as opposed to being singular, and that's that. So idioms, using tener, idioms of course we have in English are sentences that you cannot take the literal meaning of. You cannot, say for instance, look outside when it's raining cats and dogs and see dogs and cats falling from the sky. It's just a phrase that they use. So in a similar vein, this phrase in English we say I am hungry. Now the word I am is yo soy, but in Spanish they say tengo hambre, which literally means I have hunger. Of course, we don't say I have hunger. When we're hungry, we just say I'm hungry. So we translate it, not literally, but just talking about what they're trying to say, what idea they're trying to convey when they say tengo hambre. Same when you're saying you're thirsty, we'll use the verb tener for that. So we'd say tienes sed. The word sed could be translated as just thirst. So tienes, you have thirst. That's how we say you're thirsty. And of course, this works for other forms of the verb. If we say tenemos sed, we're thirsty. Tenemos hambre, we're hungry. It's the same rule. We just use the right form of the verb tener to describe who is hungry or who is thirsty. There are other different idioms that we use if we're in a hurry or if we're being careful. We can use different tener phrases. We could say tengo prisa, I'm in a hurry, or tengo cuidado, I'm being careful. We also use it when we talk about age. So this phrase right here, she is 12 years old, would be translated like so, tiene 12 años. Notice when we're talking about these tener phrases, we don't change them to reflect gender of who we're describing. So normally, if I would say, she is young, or well, that's a bad example because joven doesn't change for gender. But if I say she is tall, I would say ella es alta or es alta. But if I say she's 12 years old, tiene 12 años, the word 12 doesn't change for gender because it's a noun that we're using to describe. So when we ask someone their age, as you can see here, the sentence means she has 12 years instead of saying she is 12 years old. So we'll use this adverb how many. So how many is cuántos. Cuántos años tienes? How many years do you have? And of course you can use this for any person. So you think over the person over there. Well, how old are they? How old is he? Cuántos años tiene? How many years does he have? Right, well, study hard, and we will see you in class. Adios!